Ladies and gents, my name is Xander, aka Deicide, and in this video, we're going to go ahead and discuss one of the very best top 5 Masterwork weapons that you guys need to keep an eye out for. Now the main reason that we're doing this video is because my very good friends, aka Pimpjuice and Dennis, asked me to do a review / look out for weapons on which ones that I would look for to have Masterworks. Unfortunately, all the weapons that you guys are going to see in this video have no Masterworks on them, and that's because I'm not going to lie, I have got terrible RNG luck when it comes to getting Masterwork weapons. Since I can't get them to even drop, I can't even dismantle them to get the Masterwork cores, then infuse weapons and make them Masterworks, but unfortunately it is what it is, and the reason I state this is because all these weapons that you're about to see can do just as good without Masterworks and with Masterworks to make them even more lethal and more potent. In addition to this top 5 list is solely based on one category and one category only, and that is based on lethality. What I mean by this is that I categorize all these weapons so that based on different types of Masterwork roles, that would either then improve their overall lethality, making them more potent within the PvP environment. Keeping this in mind, you also have to note here that all these weapons that I'm about to show you can have different types of roles. As you guys can see right here on screen, we have hand cannons, pulse rifles, auto rifles, SMGs, scout rifles, and sidearms, and all of them have different types of roles that you can get. The key difference here from one weapon type into the next is that hand cannons and sidearms have the possibility to roll with stability, whereas pulse rifles, SMGs, auto rifles, and scout rifles all have the possibility to roll with range. Other than that, every single type of weapon here has the potential to get 10 plus magazine, 10 plus reload, and 10 plus handling. If you guys want to get even more information on the exact type of roles that can roll on types of power weapons like fusion rifles, swords, and whatnot, then what I'll do is I'll post a link down in the description on exactly where I found this weapon information along with power weapons as well. The only thing left to do is to eviscerate that subscribe button, and let's jump right into the video. Arriving in the number 5 spot is the Darkest Before Pulse Rifle from Trials of the Night. The reason why I like this thing so much is because, by itself, this probably is one of the best pulse rifles in this entire game, and you could arguably state that this could be the best pulse rifle in the game. Now, what I really think makes this thing so potent is the fact that it's got 2 perks, one of which is called Quick Draw, and the other which is called Full Auto Trigger System. With Quick Draw, the weapon can be drawn unbelievably fast, and with the Full Auto Trigger System, this weapon can be fired in full auto, meaning that you never have to take your hand off the trigger, and that means that easy mode is engaged. Where I think this weapon could be a little bit more improved is number 1, its reload speed, and number 2, its range. The reload speed on the weapon is only at 42 out of 100, and that is very, very low. What you can do is you can possibly get Masterworks on this to have a plus 10 reload speed, and that's incredible because that's really going to upgrade that reload speed, making it much more proficient within PvP. The reason why you need to have a higher reload stat is because this weapon magazine is only at 36, and so that means that you're only going to get 2, maybe 3 possible Guardians in one magazine clip if you're lucky. So that's why you need to have that very high reload stat. In addition to this weapon also has rapid fire frame, and rapid fire frame is a great thing to have because number 1, you get even deeper ammo reserves, and it also makes it so that when the magazine is empty, you get an even faster reload speed. So when you couple this perk in conjunction with having a Masterwork weapon of plus 10 reload, that's incredible and is exactly what you want to look for. Another area of concern that I really believe that this weapon could be improved upon is its range stat, as the range stat is only at 41 out of 100. Now what you could do is you could have on Hammerforged rifling to really increase the range, but then you're also losing some stability if you don't happen to have on small bore, and with this weapon you really need to have a lot of that stability control because this weapon has a lot of kick. With this in mind, I truly believe that having on a Masterwork of plus 5 is going to make that little bit of extra difference to allow you to get those longer shots, and also implying that you're going to have longer damage at longer ranges, meaning that you have no damage fall off. This weapon really doesn't need to have on any type of handling Masterwork, and that's because it's already got Quick Draw, making it very fast to actually aim. If you want to, you could also look for a plus 10 magazine Masterwork, as that will easily help this weapon as well, but it's already got a decent magazine size, and when you couple along with that the fact that what I already stated with the reload stats, this thing is going to be very proficient with having on either a Masterwork reload or a Masterwork range, and either one of those that you guys have is easily going to demolish Guardians in the Crucible. Arriving in the number 4 spot is one of 2 scout rifles. The first one is called the Purpose, and that's from the Trials of the 9, and then you also have the Banana SR4, which is from the Gunsmith. The reason why both of these weapons are in the exact same slot is because the Purpose and also the Manan function very similarly, not just from their actual PvP stats, but also on their base stats, and more importantly, on one intrinsic perk that they both share, and that's called Explosive Payload. With Explosive Payload, projectiles create an area of effect detonation on impact, and this is fantastic because it allows you to shoot around corners, and that's a feature that both the Purpose and the Manan both share. In addition to this, Explosive Payload always has no damage fall off, and so you can be at any range possible and you're always going to guarantee that you get 15 points of damage, at least from hitting a Guardian in the foot, the toe, the head. It doesn't matter, it's always going to be 15 points of damage in conjunction with the other damage output from the weapon itself. Looking at both of these weapons' handling speeds, you can see that the Purpose has a 72 out of 100 handling speed, and the Manan has a handling speed at 83 out of 100. For this reason, you really don't need to have another higher handling speed masterwork on this weapon, and that's because you can already have that incredibly fast draw time with both these weapons' base stats. If you want to, you can certainly do that, but I would not suggest that you guys look for a handling masterwork on this particular weapon for the Manan or the Purpose. Rather, what I would look for is one thing, and that's to either have a masterwork of plus 10 magazine or plus 10 reload, and let me explain why. So with the magazine on each one of these weapons, you have approximately 15 to 16 bullets respectively. Now that's very nice, but I'm not going to lie, that magazine size goes very fast, and so because of this, it's very beneficial to have at least one additional or possibly two additional bullets based on having that masterwork for a magazine size. And what you could also do in conjunction with this is possibly have on a reload stat, and that's because the reload speed on the Purpose is at 60 out of 100, and the reload stat on the Manan is at 57 out of 100. Granted, each one of those reload stats is actually quite high, but can you imagine what each one of these weapons would have if they had on an additional plus 10 masterwork from the reload speed? These things would even be more powerful, and not just for the overall magazine size, but for the reload, because both those things can be interchanged from one thing to the next, and so it really just comes down to a personal preference on whichever one that you guys want to have. I know for myself, I'm constantly reloading, and so that's why I would go for a plus 10 reload, because that's going to be making the weapon much more similar to having on Outlaw, but you could certainly go on for that plus 10 magazine size, as that's easily going to make either one of these weapons an absolute melting machine at distance, medium range, and of course, close range combat. Ensuing in the number 3 spot is the Traveler's Judgment 5 sidearm from the Lost Prophecies. Now how you get this weapon is by completing many Lost Prophecies, and eventually you'll actually get this thing from Lost Prophecy verse 5. As soon as you complete it, you're going to be so happy that you did, because I'm telling you guys right now that this thing is by all means one of the best, if not the actual best sidearm in this entire game. The reason why this weapon is so lethal is because number 1, it has an extremely fast kill time, but in addition to that, it can easily outbeat the Last Hope or a Last Dance or something else like that, and it really just comes down to personal preference and also the perks on which each one of these weapons have. Now if you were to look at just a Masterworks option for these weapons, then for this Traveler's Judgment, what I would highly recommend is to have on one of two options. The first is to have on either plus 5 stability, or the second is to have on plus 10 reload speed. The reason why I suggest that you have on one of these two Masterwork options is because the stability on this weapon is already at 84 out of 100, and that's incredible and exceptional, but having on an additional plus 5 stability is really going to give you that little bit of an extra recoil control option, and that's going to be fantastic for getting more headshots. The reason why you want to get more headshots is because this weapon also has on Headseeker, and Headseeker states that by landing one body shot, you then get increased precision damage, and that increased precision damage is going to be 27 points of damage in the head. This cannot be done by any other sidearm in this game, and for this reason, the Traveler's Judgment is very potent when you add on an additional stability Masterworks. Now what you could also look for is having on a plus 10 reload speed, because the reload stat on this weapon is very low, and it's only at 40 out of 100. That's why if you wanted to have a plus 10 reload speed, that's going to help this weapon significantly, because you're always running out of bullets almost every single engagement. The reason for this is because the magazine size is only at 30, and that's only going to give you 1 or 2 Guardians per magazine size, tops. Because of this, it'd be very efficient for you to have on that plus 10 reload stat, but you could also even state that having on an additional plus 10 magazine size from Masterworks will be very beneficial for this weapon, because that's going to up the magazine size from 30 up to 33. Those extra 3 bullets is 1 more burst, and that 1 additional burst could be the difference between life and death, and so that's also going to be a very key factor for you guys to consider. If you ask me, I would still go with that +5 stability on the sidearm because stability is going to do one thing, and that's going to allow you to hit more shots and most likely get more headshots, and more headshots is going to lead to a faster time to kill. When you couple along with this, the fact that this weapon's already got a very high stability at 84 out of 100 and a phenomenal recoil direction at 89 out of 100, having on +5 stability is significantly the best option because this thing is not going to miss headshots, and that's exactly what all of us want. Eviscerating Guardians in the number 2 spot is a hand cannon that we all have come to love and enjoy, and that's called the Better Devils. The Better Devils is the Crucible hand cannon that you can get from playing Crucible games or by ranking up Lord Shacks, and I happen to have many of them, and I'm so glad that I do because this thing is absolutely a decimating monster that obliterates just about any Guardian that it sees in the Crucible. One of the main reasons as to why I like this weapon so much is because it's got on one intrinsic perk, and that's called Explosive Payload. Explosive Payload is the exact same thing as what we had on the Mananan as well as the Purpose, and it states that projectiles create an area of effect detonation on impact. On hand cannons, this is phenomenal and exceptional because once again it has no damage fall off with the damage output done via Explosive Payload. When you combine this with some fantastic Masterwork options, this thing becomes a true monster that nobody wants to mess with. Now if we want to make this thing even more lethal, we can actually add on one or two Masterwork options that are really going to significantly improve this weapon, and let me explain what they are. The first option is to have on my preferred option, and that's to have Masterwork's Reload. The reason I want to have on a +10 reload stat is because this thing in conjunction with its base reload stat at 46 on 100 is actually not that great. But when you couple along with this marvelous perk called Flared Magwell, and you also have in the fact that you have +10 Masterworks from the reload stats, this almost becomes a hand cannon that actually has an Outlaw, even though it doesn't have on Outlaw at all, and you don't even need to have on headshots to get it to proc. I cannot stress the importance to you guys as to how much I love this weapon for this one particular aspect. Having on that +10 reload speed is phenomenal for very aggressive playstyles that caters exactly to myself, and so if you guys have that same playstyle, then by all means, having on the +10 Masterwork for the reload along with Flared Magwell is exactly what you want to do. Now what you could also do is have on the second option, and that's to actually use the other perk instead of Flared Magwell, and that's called Extended Mag. Extended Mag is going to significantly increase the reload speed, and when you combine this with a +10 magazine from the Masterworks, this thing has approximately 15 to 16 bullets in the magazine, and that is simply unheard of. Having 15 to 16 bullets in the magazine is exceptional and incredible because that's going to allow you to almost down 4 Guardians without ever having to reload. I don't know about you guys, but this is also another very popular option that I've seen with many Guardians, and so if I was you, I would either have on that +10 reload speed or have it on the +10 magazine size, as that's going to really increase this weapon's lethality tenfold. Annihilating Guardians in the number 1 spot is an SMG that we've either come to love or despise, and it's called the NEOP-D. The NEOP-D is an SMG from the Gunsmith, and if you want to get your hands on this thing, then you've got to grind the Gunsmith as much as you possibly can, and when this thing eventually does drop, you can be so unbelievably thankful, because this thing has a fantastic, incredible perk, and it's called Kill Clip. Kill Clip states that reloading after a kill grants increased damage. This is truly a marvelous perk, and the reason why it's so great is because it also works marvelously with another perk on this weapon, and that's called Tactical Mag. Tactical Mag is going to increase your stability, your reload speed, along with your magazine size, and so because of this, you can see why Tactical Mag and Kill Clip go so well together, because one needs the other to make it more efficient. It's due to these perks of Kill Clip and Tactical Mag that I believe that this thing is the most lethal with the Masterworks on it, and that Masterwork is +10 reload. Whenever you have a +10 reload stat, this thing truly becomes a melting machine, and I have a feeling that even though I don't know exactly what it's like yet, it's going to be even more of a monstrosity than what it already is. The game footage that you're seeing right now does not have this option or this Masterwork on it, and even with this, it's already decimating Guardians, no problem whatsoever. Now if you don't like to have on that +10 Masterwork for a reload stat, then what you could also do is have on +5 range for Masterwork. And the reason why I state this is because if you happen to have on SC Hollow and Ricochet rounds, those two perks are going to give you the maximum range that you can possibly have on this weapon. When you combine this with a range stat at 63 out of 100, this thing is going to be absolutely melting Guardians at distance, which simply shouldn't be happening with any type of SMG. So when you combine SC Hollow, Ricochet rounds, the range stat of 63, and a +5 range of Masterworks, this thing is easily going to hit Guardian's cross map like it's a piece of cake. No matter which option that you guys happen to choose, either a +5 range Masterwork or a +10 reload Masterwork, each of them is going to be very efficient for this weapon. It really just comes down to you and how you like to use the weapon in general, but no matter which way that you look at it, this thing's lethality is through the roof, and for this one reason, that's why it's in the #1 spot. All in all, these weapons that I just stated are by all means the most powerful weapons in which I personally believe would make the most improvements and become more lethal with having on their specific Masterwork options. In the #5 spot, we had the Darkest Before, followed by the Purpose or the Banana Scout Rifles, and then the Traveler's Judgment sidearm. In the #2 spot came the Better Devils, and in the #1 spot was the Anti-Up, just because the very simple fact, no matter what kind of build that you have on this thing, it becomes the most lethal of all the Masterwork options. Now what I want to also state is that any weapon that has on kill clip, like the Positive Outlook, the Nightshade, or even the Old Fashioned, all of those can easily have made this list, and the reason why they didn't is because I only wanted to have one weapon that had on kill clip, just to show you guys that all of these things can easily be used for different types of playstyles and different types of engagements. There are many weapons in this game that could have easily made this list, but keep in mind that these are the ones that I prefer, and I also want to know which ones that you guys prefer down in the comment section below. I have no doubt that you guys are going to have some fantastic weapons and also some fantastic Masterwork options, and I can't wait to hear about what all those are down in the comment section below, because your reasoning is going to be fantastic, and I can't wait to hear all about it. Lastly, go ahead and check out some of my other new videos, as you guys can see right there on the screen. If you happen to enjoy this one, then you're definitely going to enjoy those as well. That's pretty much all that I've got for you as of right now, and so as always, deislayers, great gaming, until next time.